Whitney Galler, that's my name. I go from board game cafe, entertainment cafe, rent out the space, or we do private parties, or we come up with different events. Like if I was solely on cafe, I'd be gone by now. But the board games itself, the games are what really sell. I do babysitting, I do ukulele lessons, I do anything that I'm capable of doing to help bring income to the store. Anything that I make on my own goes into the store. I very much value what it can bring to people. So I really only have had one employee at a time, but there'll be gaps where I only have about me, just me. I do have people thinking that this store is easy. Biggest motto that I learned from my first boss was there's always something to do. 15 minimum. I've never had a staff member last more than 6 months, which is fine. It's pretty average and typical for retail, I feel like. I have the mixed people who comes for Pilates, which they solely come for Pilates, they don't really come for anything else. People who are here for their coffee and their croissants, they don't even look at the games. They're just like, I want my things and I'm gonna go. And then I have people who are very invested in the games, and I really bond with them and try to give them really good recommendations. That's my biggest sell there. Almost in a weird way, like a fun therapist, where I'll give you games and food, but you tell me your problems. I actually love introducing people into games. I have a whole game room in the back with over 200 games, and I keep trying to add on more and more. It's $10 per person for every 2 hours to test out and play, and then you get a 15% off if you decide that you want to pick one up and take it home. Like there's deception games, there's cooperative games, you got competitive games, RPG games, which are role-playing games. There's many, many options for people, word games. There's one in specific vendor who I'm obsessed with, and he's called the Awkward Yeti. He's actually a comic book artist, and he's just started making games, but his games sell the most in my store. Then I also work with USAopoly. They focus primarily party games. I also work with Asmodee. Asmodee is fantastic as well. They're very supportive, and they are also the hot shot. They have like the main games that everyone wants. Catan, Pandemic, Dixit, Splendor, all of it. The first thing that comes is rent. That's the biggest concern that we have always. And then comes all the bills, including the electric and like taxes and etc. Then comes the games. Then comes the food. It's kind of weird how minimal it comes to the actual items in the store that I have to worry about versus just to maintain the shop itself. 72 hours to 90 a week. Yeah, it's much more than the complaints of, I work 40 hours a week. January is usually kind of dead up until March, where we start to pick up because of spring break and etc. April's okay, and then May to a little bit of June, fantastic. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fresh air that people are finally like, let's do something fun. But summertime, that is our weakest time. And I've known this, and I was warned about this even before opening the store. The fall time is usually okay as well. December though is my favorite month. If I could have that every month, I would be rich. That's where I get my income, the one month a year. If you are not a friendly person and you decide to open a retail space or a restaurant or etc., you need to hire someone who loves people. That is a huge thing. The second thing is definitely the drive. You need to be as passionate as you've ever been. You need to be so hyper-focused and serious that it shows everyone that you know exactly what you're doing, even when you don't. And that's the thing, when you go into a business, you don't know what you're doing. You never know what you're doing. You try your best to really keep on top of things, but life is a mystery. The third thing I would say is who you support. So who you're working with at your business, who your clientele is, who your staff is, if they feel as loved, if the company that you work for is really giving more to the community rather than just to themselves, it shows, and it goes above and beyond all. Is that good?